there, it's Amy Schmidt, your host of the Fearlessly Facing 50 and Beyond podcast. I am so happy that you have chosen to spend time with me. As a reinvention confidence expert, along with a storyteller, I've shared quite a few things along this journey. But what I've found is the most important info to share are stories. Stories of amazing people, ordinary people, extraordinary people, doing things that are going to inspire you to action. So come and join me in this space because you're going to be inspired. Let's get started. It's our time. Hey there, it's Amy, and welcome to this episode of the podcast. I'm really excited you're here. Thanks for popping in your earbuds or taking a walk with me or cooking a meal with me or maybe sipping a glass of wine. I'm so happy that we are going to spend some time together and I get to introduce you to someone fantastic. This is all part of the Surround Yourself with Greatness series on the podcast, and it's really fun for me to bring to you some people that I've been introduced to myself, some of my dear friends, and also just some people that really are change makers in this world. So I hope that you've enjoyed the series so far, and today will not disappoint. Before we get started, I wanted to remind you that you can go ahead and follow me on Instagram at Fearlessly Facing 50, the same thing on Facebook. You also can join the Facebook group. It's recently retitled to Double Your Confidence. So go ahead and find that. It's a Fearlessly Facing 50 group, and it's called Double Your Confidence. Speaking of confidence, I hope that everybody listening has gone ahead and signed up for the incredible course, Mind and Body Confidence, because you know what? You can't have one without the other, right? You cannot have a positive mindset if you're not feeling your healthiest self. If you're not creating daily habits around your health and wellness, you are not going to be able to step into your power with the best confident self. So it's really cool. I launched this course, and it's a dual course that Kristen Cofield and I have put together. And that's why we're so excited about it, because it's the best of what she does and it's the best of what I do, coming together in a 14-day course. So you can go to betterthangossip.com and purchase it there. It's an investment in you. It is a very reasonable investment. It's probably, I don't know, a week of groceries, maybe 3 days of groceries. So it's not much. And it's actually something that will really benefit you in your life, in your journey, wherever you are. So really excited to bring that to you. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. You know, there's so many podcasts out there. I don't ask this enough, and I need to. So I'm going to ask you. It's the ask. Please subscribe and also leave a review. You can go to anywhere, I think any of the podcast platforms, and leave a review, or just simply Google Apple Podcasts, search Fearlessly Facing 50, and follow the prompts to write a review. I would so appreciate it. I need to get more reviews because that's something that a lot of podcast hosts ask for regularly, and I do not. So I'm going to put it out there and hopeful that some of you will in return leave a review. So today's guest is a woman by the name of Ali Gorman. I adore this woman. I met her through a mutual friend, and I think she's pretty great. She has mastered the art of reinvention, like so many of us, and she's got a really cool new thing that she just launched. And I'm really proud of her for launching it because, as you will hear in the interview, you know, it's not without fear. It's not without those negative thoughts kind of coming into our mind thinking, can I do this? And will I be successful doing this? And what does success in this look like for me? So we're going to really dig into everything, learn about Ali. She has been everything from a Navy nurse to a news reporter to now an NTTF. So we're going to learn about that acronym. I'm not even going to tell you what it is because you can listen to the episode. So without further ado, sit back, relax, or get up and dance around, or go out for a run, or whatever it is that you want to do. But invest your time wisely and take a listen to my interview with Ali Gorman. Well, welcome to the episode today. As you heard in the intro, I'm excited about this interview today. And I love the way, you know, this series of greatness, Surround Yourself with Greatness series is kind of cool because it has allowed me to really spend some time learning about people through other people. We have a mutual contact. And I got to share this great woman with you. So I have on the show today, Ali Gorman. Ali, first of all, welcome to the show. I'm excited that you're here.
I am so excited and honored to be here, Amy.
Yeah, it's going to be so much fun. We had such a great conversation a few weeks ago. Ali just launched something fabulous called TruFaves. It's an app. So I will link everything to the episode notes. We're going to talk about that and, you know, kind of her story behind launching that. But we really want to get to know Ali a little bit deeper. And I always like the story behind kind of what I call the brand She's got an interesting background. And, I like to talk about reinvention because I certainly have reinvented myself. I can't even tell you how many times. I mean, that's what we do, right? As women, we just constantly reinvent.
Yeah, and I don't even know that I set out to do any kind of reinvention. I just get to a point where I'm like, okay, I'm ready for something new. And I do feel like you get this feeling, it kind of grows slowly. And then all of a sudden you're like, all right, I got to make a move. And you launch that reinvention.
And you transition, and it takes grit, it takes grace, it takes perseverance, all of that. But I think sometimes we undervalue the power of the reinventions that we've done. Talk to me a little bit about that, because I talk a lot about the fact, I think as women in general, sometimes we undervalue our accomplishments. We make them insignificant. We say, it wasn't that great. Or we kind of forget about some of the things that we've done to get us to this point. So I want you to answer that, but walk me through a little bit of your journey. Give us the 90-second intro to Ali before we really dig into that.
Yeah. So when we talk about the reinventions, I graduated from Georgetown University. I went into the Navy. I was a Navy nurse. I did that for 4 years. As I was getting out of the Navy, I started to get that itch like, I think I want to, try something a little bit different. I ended up going back to school at Northwestern for broadcast journalism with the goal of doing thanks. With the goal of doing health reporting, TV news, health reporting. So I did 1 year grad school and then dove headfirst into the TV news world. And I did that for about 15 years. And I remember at the time when I was a nurse and I was going back to school, I remember my fellow nurses saying like, are you crazy? Do you really think this is going to work? Yeah. And I remember thinking like, I don't know, but I got to give it a shot because I really feel like I want to do it. I felt in alignment with it. And even, the very first quarter of Northwestern, when they give you a camera and they tell you your story and they teach you how to edit, I just felt like I was like, yeah, this feels right.
Really? You felt like you were in your groove.
I did. I think you always feel when something feels in alignment. And as confused as I was, I didn't know how to edit. I didn't know how to write a news story. I mean, everything was brand new, but it was exciting to me. And then fast forward, 15 years in the TV news business, and I started to feel kind of like I had hit a plateau. I still love news, but I had this side project, TruFaves, which was growing and kind of taking off. And again, I found myself really excited to learn something new. And I felt, as out of my comfort zone I was in, like I also felt in alignment because I was learning something new and I was developing something new that I'm truly passionate about. So I think the reinventions just kind of happen if you actually listen to your body and listen to your soul and kind of where it's taking you.
Yeah, I think you make a good point with that word alignment. I haven't used that word before. I haven't heard that word from other guests I've interviewed. And it's a strong word because it really is when you feel as though you're in alignment with things. It makes that transition easier. Walk me through the times though. So women are listening and men as well. And there are times in our journeys when fear sets in, when that those limiting beliefs, that negative self-talk that sets in. Walk us through what that looks like for you, because there have to be days that, I say it's those days when you just want to pull the covers back over your head and say, just go away, but you got to get up, get dressed and get going. Take me through some of those days and how you break through that barrier of fear or, negative self-talk.
Yeah, it's constant. It's up and down. And I say starting a startup is an absolute roller coaster because there are days when I am feeling so optimistic. We're having, all these new people on the app. I'm talking to the developers. We're fixing things. I have potential investors reaching out and everything is going so smoothly. Fast forward 24 hours and it can be
12 hours.
Me. Oh yeah. It can be me questioning, oh my God, what have I done with my life? And is this really going to work?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I'm just trying to get through. It's the journey, you do as much as you possibly can. I believe in the vision. And as long as you believe in the vision, and I still feel very much in alignment, I'll use that word, when I'm working on the app and I see it working and I see where it can go. And you have to hold on to that. But, I think a lot of entrepreneurs and, startup founders always paint this rosy picture. But when you talk to them on the other side of things, when they are now successful and they talk about like those dark days, everybody has those dark days. It's impossible not to.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I think as an entrepreneur, solopreneur, you can work yourself in excess. I mean, I talk a lot about the story of when I was writing my book and I still had one kid at home at that time. He was, I think, in 10th grade, maybe 9th or 10th grade. And he left for school in the morning. I had also launched my podcast and was doing speaking and things, but I was writing my book and I was committed to it. And I remember he came home after school and I hadn't moved. I had not moved. Like I was still in my, my PJs or whatever it was at that moment, because I was so drilled down into what I was doing. And I think, like you said, there are times when you can just, it's the days just become, they kind of morph together, right?
They do. I think that probably, you can tell me, that probably didn't feel like work though. I will say working on this startup, it doesn't, because it's mine, it's my vision. I'm passionate about it. I can work all day on it. It doesn't feel like work.
Fabulous.
As much as I loved reporting, when I had so many deadlines, I would have 3 or 4 stories to turn every day. It started to feel like work. It was just kind of like feeding the beast. But when it's your own thing, I just think it feels less like work. However, yes, you have to like work in that balance. You got
boundaries,
get yourself up, go for a walk. Yes, I'm definitely learning that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's part of launching a business. So for people that are listening today, now, when you go through your background, it's extensive. And obviously there's some parallels here. Storytelling. I mean, because I was in broadcasting as well. You love that part of it. I would assume, being a reporter. News is exciting. You obviously have a nurturing, caring sense in there as well, being a nurse in the Navy. So how does this translate to starting a tech? I mean, becoming a CEO of a tech, basically a tech company, launching an app. You really didn't have the tech background.
No, I am a non-tech tech founder.
Non-tech founder.
That's the coin term for it. And I think I was pretty naive in the beginning. I was just so excited about this idea. And we were, asking friends, doing surveys, we do this, would you do this? As I got in deeper working with developers, that's when it really kind of hits you like, whoa, I am out of my league here. I don't understand the technology. You can learn as much as you possibly can. But at the end of the day, I'm still a non-tech tech founder with a team of the technical people to help me.
Yeah, which is an important thing to mention, because I think there are times that we have a tendency to not want to ask for help because it shows us as a sign of weakness. That's something that may have occurred more in 20s and 30s, not as we get older. But, right there, what you said was, NTTF, non-tech founder. I love that. But you had to get help. You had to have support.
I had to have support. And it's interesting that you say that, because I do think women in particular don't like to ask for help. I don't like to ask for help. I'm in a situation right now where I have to pitch potential investors for investments. Talk about asking for help. I'm not only just asking for help, I'm asking for like financial help.
Right.
So this is definitely out of my comfort zone, but I think it's just kind of part of the journey and something that you have to get over.
Yeah, I agree with you. And that's taking you out of your comfort zone, which is great. We need to do that. That's where the magic happens. And it sounds to me like, I use this a lot. You're kind of meeting yourself at the intersection of passion and purpose.
Yes. Yeah, because I'm passionate about it, but I believe that the way that we're doing things with TruFaves is different. It's different than what's out there, and it's going to make a difference when we have it in more hands.
Yeah. So let's break down TruFaves. It's a great app. And I will link everything so people can go ahead and find the app and get involved. But walk me through that conversation you had. Who was the first person you talked to when you said, all right, you said you talked to friends, you obviously do a lot of market research before you launch something like this, but who was that first person, that first pillar you reached out to say, hey, I'm going to do this?
So the story goes back to several years ago out in New York City with a bunch of girlfriends, and we're doing what women often do, which is swap recommendations. So one is raving about this new fitness class. Another is talking about a business book that, changed her whole way of thinking. I was getting ready to run a race in a different city. So I was asking for recommendations. Where do I stay? Where do I eat? And then the next morning, as we're getting ready to leave, we took out our phones and we put it in the notes section because we had nowhere else to put it. So we're like, oh, wait, what was that? Yeah, what was that? And inevitably information got lost, as it does. So, there's follow-up texts and emails and wait, what was that? And then you just forget. So fast forward to we really start talking about this and we're like, oh, what if we created an app? Now, at first, we weren't thinking business. We were thinking just for our friends so that we can share with each other the things that we really love that have made a difference in our lives. And we can quickly ask for recommendations so that we're not blowing up each other's phones and texting constantly. So that's where it all started. It wasn't until we started having more conversations about like, hey, we think we want to do this, that we realized, one, how expensive it is to launch an app. And two, you kind of need some sort of monetization plan.
Right. Bingo. Isn't that the big thing?
It's the big thing,
It's a big thing. We all have to have it. But so how did that conversation come in and how did you pull this all together?
So that was, honestly, once we started to realize like, okay, we could make a business out of this. The biggest hurdle was how do we make money off of it? How do we make it, interesting to an investor? But also keeping those faves, as we call them faves for these recommendations, unbiased, because everything that's out there right now tends to be a bit biased.
Right.
So that was the biggest struggle. So we kicked around a lot of ideas, finally came up with something that we're like, okay, this can work. The faves are still going to be unbiased. We can still make money off of the app, but it took a lot of up and down. And I'll be honest, I started this with a couple of friends and we all were working. They had children at the time. I didn't have my little guy yet, but we're doing meetings at nighttime. We're talking early in the morning, and they both came to me and they're like, Ali, we love this idea. We just don't have the time. It's so much more than what we thought it was going to be. And at first, I didn't think I could do it on my own. So I put it like on the back burner and I was like, oh, I still love it. But here's what happened. It kept coming up. I would get a text message like, hey, can you tell me who your dentist is? Or, hey, can you share this with me? Or I'd be texting someone at the airport like, hey, I'm going here. Like, didn't you say you went here? And then I don't hear back. It just kept coming up to the point that I was like, all right, it's burning a hole in my brain. I called back my friends. I'm like, listen, you don't have to be in. I'm like, but I'm going to relaunch it. And both of them were like, we want to invest, but you take the reins. And I kind of felt like I had to. It launched much more research and many more surveys, but at least it was up and running again.
So what if I told you could double your confidence in 14 days? Would you be game? I definitely would cannonball into that. So let me introduce you to an incredible course that is being taught by my business partner, Kristen Cofield, the founder of The Culinary Cure, and myself, the founder of Fearlessly Facing 50. 14 lessons taught by us to double your confidence. All you have to do is go to betterthangossip.com and sign up today. If you sign up with 3 friends, you get your course for free. And the investment is basically probably a trip to the grocery store. It's not a huge investment, but it's investment in you. That is the gift you should gift yourself this holiday season. The program seamlessly combines wellness and mindset, so you solve the biggest confidence challenges that we face when building our businesses or just going along on our journeys. We need both mind and body confidence. If this sounds like you, not having enough energy to get everything done, frustrations with body image, poor sleep, inconsistent eating habits, self-doubt, negative thoughts, stress, lack of confidence, this course is for you. It's a proven, powerful online program that brings you videos, call to actions with worksheets and recipes, everything so that you can look and feel happier in your body and in your thoughts. So sign up today. Mind and Body Confidence. Betterthangossip.com. You can find it there. You can find it on my website, fearlesslyfacing50.com. So walk us through TruFaves. How is it different from, our media feeds and such are flooded with influencers?
Yeah. So the biggest difference with TruFaves is you actually know where the information is coming from. So these are your most trusted sources. And
Mm,
when you think about reliable recommendations, the best recommendations always come from people that you know and trust. Not an anonymous review online, and
right.
not a social media influencer. And nothing against influencers. Some of them have some, great
Absolutely.
information,
Hmm.
but you have to take it with a grain of salt because they are getting paid to promote a product or service. They might love that product or service, but it's hard to tell, especially now because there are so many influencers. You don't know if they really love it or if they're just getting a kickback and they're trying to, make money off of it.
If they were the latest bachelor or bachelorette and now they're, I mean, that's what it is. You look at that and then you see what they're promoting. Do they really like that or not? So interesting. So, I mean, we talk a lot about having people in your life. And you said there's a group of women that, you sat down and talked to. And as women, we are sharers. We're sharers of information. I mean, when we have a great pair of boots on and we want to tell somebody where we got them, that kind of sounds like this goes in something that would fit for TruFaves.
Exactly. Yes. I am the type of person that, I find this fantastic, fitness class or, beauty product that I love. Even, something as serious as a healthcare,
Hmm.
specialist.
Hmm.
I am someone who, yes, wants to share it with friends.
So is it
And it can be
worldwide? It's a
it is
worldwide.
it's just in the United States. We
Okay.
launched in July. So we just launched. We just launched in July. We had a really strong opening with 1,000 downloads within the first 4 weeks.
Wow.
Hit a little bit of a plateau. We have a few development things that we need to
Yeah.
iron out.
Right.
But we're getting traction. We're getting traction every day. So it's growing. I am, as I mentioned, now meeting with potential investors, angel investors. We're about to launch on WeFunder, trying to get more investments so that I can add in those functions and features that are going to make it a little bit more user friendly so that we can get more people on the platform, more people kind of, making their circles so that when you post a recommendation or you post an ask, say, hey, I'm looking for this, you have people in your circle to ask.
Right. So it's a circle. So that's interesting. You know what we're going to have to do is do something in the community. So for people that are listening and want to learn more about this and you download the app, maybe we'll have you on and we'll do something in the new year where we can actually walk through it together.
I
Do
would
some
love to
sort
do
of
like a live demo so I can
that's what
show
we need to
people.
do. Because I was just going to ask you, when you download the app, so for people listening, when you go ahead and download this app, even though we'll do something in 2023, what's the first thing somebody should do?
So create your profile. So just like any other platform, you're going to create your profile, your picture, your likes, a little bit about you. And then you want to start building your circle. So you're going to invite those people that you trust that you would ask for recommendations from or that you would share your recommendations to. You can start creating your faves then. Right now we have 7 different categories on there and you can post about your go-to places. And I always say it's a little bit more than just like the name. If someone asks me where I get my hair colored, I'm saying the salon name, the stylist. Make sure you tell her you want white blonde and not gold blonde, and she only works these days. Like, so it's those little details that can also make a difference.
So it's really.
And then if you have a specific, if you have a specific ask, then you can put that out in your group. Say you're traveling somewhere, like, hey, has anybody been to Grand Cayman? Where did you stay? What did you do? So that you can get trusted recommendations.
Mm-hmm. I like that. The most trusted sources. I really enjoyed that. I mean, those words are important for people that are, looking at an app and thinking, okay, I love that. So what's the biggest thing you've learned so far?
Oh my goodness. I've learned so much over the past, couple years. I think what I've learned about myself is what we're talking about. I don't like asking for help. But you have to. Mm-hmm. And I think also just a startup is so as exciting as it is some days, other days you do. You have to face those like doubts and those questions. But I think, God, that's a tough question. What's the biggest thing I've learned? I think the investment side of it, I knew I had to raise money, and we had a friends and family and angel investor round that was uber successful, like right away. This second round and asking angel investors who I don't know, I love pitching the idea because I love talking about it. But when it comes down to the financials and sending all the paperwork, that's something that I'm still really trying to grasp.
Yeah. And you'll learn over time. I think people listening, I think that's a big thing because so many women, I've had a lot of financial experts on over the years on the podcast and finances and asking for money. And that is always something that is challenging. It's challenging. So for people listening that might not be familiar with that process of, when you throw out the term angel investor or you go to, series 1 or series A or whatever it is, for somebody listening that doesn't know what that means, walk us through that. You go into a room and they're sitting there and they're looking at you and they're saying, okay, here she is. Now he's going to ask us for money. How do you start that conversation and how do you close it?
Yeah. So you have a pitch deck, which is kind of a video, or it's a bunch of different slides that you're going to present your project. You're going to talk about the problem. You're going to talk about the solution. You're going to talk about the competition, what makes you different, how much you're trying to raise, how you're going to use that money, and then your timeline for the next 5 years, because investors want to know how they're going to get their money back.
5 years. Well, your little one is going to be what, 6?
He's 3 now, so
he's going to be 8.
So he'll be 8. Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine him as an 8-year-old right now.
Exactly.
They say it goes fast, so we'll see.
Yeah, but that's what it is. They ask you, you want 5 years out.
Yes, they want to know kind of what your plans are 5 years out, and you're projecting. You're using, we just launched, so we're pre-revenue, so I can use as much information as I can gather about similar companies and their timelines, and how I think we're going to grow. But at the end of the day, they are projections. They have to be projections that I can back up. It's interesting, though. I've had different experiences. I've had some experiences where I walk into a room and I pitch to a group and I feel like I nailed it. Like I get great questions. The investors totally understand it. They see a need for it. They would use it themselves. I've also had that experience where you walk in. I walked into a room and it was this long table.
Was it? I can picture it. Yeah.
People in suits just staring up at me, blank stares. And based on the questions that they were asking, I could tell, and it was the same presentation, but I could tell that they just didn't get it or they just were not interested. You can feel totally defeated in the same sense as I sat with that afterwards. I was like, it just didn't feel like the right fit on either end.
Right. Right.
An investor doesn't have to use the app, but it's a lot easier of a sell when it's someone that says, hey, I do this with my friends all the time. I would use something like this.
Exactly. And I think pitching to men is going to be more difficult just because I don't think they're innately sharers like we are. So I think that's a challenge you have to overcome right away.
It is. They don't do it like, guys swap recommendations, not at the level that women do it though.
Right.
No.
Okay. So I am out there when it comes to like talking about things that are really on my heart and part of my personal journey. That's one reason I started the podcast. And it's another reason to share information that I find is so valuable. So I'm going to ask you this. Wouldn't you love to be able to run, skip, jump, climb a mountain, swing on a trapeze, jump on a trampoline, whatever it is, without a leaky bladder? Okay, I'm putting it out there. I know I have an editor who's a male who edits my podcast, and I'm sure he's like, okay, Amy, you're bringing it again. I'm learning so much about this. I can tell my girlfriend, my wife, my sister, my friends, whatever. But you know what? It's so important to open the dialogue on this because it's an important topic. And urinary incontinence is real, and you are not alone, and I am not alone. So that's why I want to share with you this amazing product that I have been using. I've been using Innovo to combat bladder leaks and strengthen my pelvic floor, which I can't tell you how many times I've pulled to a stoplight and I've heard my OBGYN saying, do your Kegels, Aim, do your Kegels. Well, you never know if you're doing them right. So Innovo's clever technology, it's non-invasive, it's not surgical, it's literally a pair of shorts. You put them on and the technology stimulates the pelvic floor to strengthen the muscles and treats the root cause of bladder leaks. You pull on the shorts and Innovo delivers 180 perfect pelvic floor contractions in 30 minutes. Literally, it's your me time for 30 minutes, 5 days a week for 12 weeks. You can read your emails, you can just have a little me time, you can do your to-do list, whatever it is. It works. It's clinically proven to work. It's non-invasive, safe, and easy to use. And you get results in as little as 4 weeks. So if you are somebody or you know of somebody that is suffering from bladder leaks, let's open the dialogue about it. Let's be transparent. We're women. We've had kids. This is part of it. So you know what? There's a great code. You go to myinnovo.com. You use the code AMYK100, AMYK100 for $100 off. It's amazing. Get your starter kit. Let me know how you like it. And you know what? You'll be leak-free just like me. And it's an amazing, empowering, confidence-boosting feeling. Check it out. myinnovo.com and use the code AMYK100. $100 off. So take me to that time when you walked out of the room or you got off a Zoom call and you got an investor. Who's the first person you picked up the phone and called?
Oh, my friends.
Your friends.
I have some who are mutual contact, Mia, who you know. She is, my best friend from growing up. And she is, as you know, just this uber successful businesswoman. She has reinvented herself several times. I read a lot about like law of attraction and stuff like that. And I try to use that. Mia is someone who has no idea what law of attraction is, but she does it and doesn't even know that she is doing it. And it works for her.
Yeah.
So I think you have to have cheerleaders kind of in your life. When I tell somebody like, hey, I just got this, or I just got this meeting. Yeah. She is someone I'm so fortunate to have, at least 10 girlfriends that I can text, pick up the phone and tell them about it. And they will be doing cartwheels with me.
Exactly. Isn't that amazing? You're your pillars.
Mm-hmm.
I talk about that so often and it's so important. And those are the people that you go to when you have those days and you're like, oh, Mia, why are you my friend? What do you see in me? What is it? The value that I'm giving you. And I think we need to do that every so often. And we have to realize too that, seasons change and relationships change and new relationships emerge. Some may not be as strong as they were in the past, but I do agree that, you have to have that support network, that safety zone there that you can go to. So I love to hear that. What about somebody who's listening that has thought about launching something? Maybe writing a book, maybe launching a business, maybe somebody that's listening that just wants to get moving in the next 6 months. They've put it on hiatus. They haven't had the desire or willpower to go and even take a walk in the neighborhood. Something's been holding them back. What would be your advice? I always say push, play, not pause. How can we get people motivated to continue to move forward?
What's interesting? When I launched this and when I left my full-time job, I had so many people reach out to me that I know well, that said, Ali, I've been wanting to do something like this for years and I just haven't done it. And I don't know that I'm ever going to do it. I would hear other stories of people following their dreams, whether it's moving or writing a book or launching a business. And before I had done it, I always thought like, oh, I really want to do that. I really want to do that. So I think it's kind of a seed that grows. And I tell people, you don't have to quit your job tomorrow, but you can start with a side project, just doing a couple hours at night, working on something that you're passionate about, and it grows from there. And then you can also see if you do feel that alignment, if you still feel passionate about it. There's a lot of people that write, say they want to write a book and then they sit down to write and they're like, oh my God, writing's horrible.
Exactly.
But I think you have to kind of listen to what your soul is telling you and move forward with it. At least give it a shot. You don't have to go 100% in right away, but just do a little bit.
I agree with that 100%. And also realize that there are going to be times, when I launched my podcast, Ali, I shared it in my TED Talk. I finally had everything together and sitting in my house at the time and started to record it and thought, okay. And then I finished and I'm like, oh, I just hit it out of the ballpark. This is amazing. Like, this is going to be awesome. I love this. I never pushed record.
Oh, no.
A podcast host who's supposed to be, and it was like,
it was good practice though.
It was great practice, but I will say that, there were those moments of, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? Am I going to be able to really do this? Who's going to listen? Those self-doubt things start creeping in. And then you just say, you know what? It was good practice. I recorded it again, found the file. It was okay. But you know what? I really give you credit for what you're doing and what you're building with this. You really are, creating something that's going to be so valuable for so many people. We'll link TruFaves to the episode notes and make sure, and we want to have you back in 2023 because I think doing an actual demo with it Because I know just from launching a podcast and having a stream show, people don't know how to find it. People don't know how to do it until you really, and it's not because they're not taking the time or effort. They just don't clearly understand. And once they learn those steps, it's so much easier. So I'd love to do that with you. So one of the questions I ask everyone, and I love these answers because they're all so different. Ali, if you were sitting on the couch and you look over and there's Ali at 30, what advice would you give her?
It's a good question. I think that maybe telling her everything is not going to work out exactly as you think it is or as you plan, but to follow your dreams and, take those difficult steps. It is scary to do something different. It's a lot easier to stay where you are, even if you're not 100% happy. It's a lot easier to stay where you are than it is to take that next step. But I think that you're going to feel much more alive. Even as you get older, you think that okay, you should have everything figured out. But I think that we need to keep learning and keep pushing ourselves and, following our passions and what we want to do and explore those.
I love that. Thank you. You are so well aligned. I love that word alignment. Thanks for bringing that word into my vocabulary today. And also being a real badass NTTF, non-tech founder. I love it. Great acronym. Thanks so much for sharing space with me.
Thank you so much, Amy. It was such an honor to speak with you.
Yeah. So in 2023, we'll be back, and maybe we can convince Mia to come on.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Let's do it.
Let's do it. So, all right. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
Okay. So I hope that this episode inspired you, encouraged you, and challenged you. Because when we share our stories, they're inspiring. You know what? It's important for people to connect. Connection is key. People need people. So as you go forward this week or today, be a difference maker, be a change maker, not only in your life, but in somebody else's. Reach out with a text, an email, or a phone call. Connection is key. It builds community and it builds confidence. Go forth and be awesome, and I'll see you soon.